Hello, I'm John Rossi, a touring drummer with a love of all things animal. When I'm on the road, I visit as many zoos, aquariums... Hey, wait a minute. What's going on? Hey, what's going on there? Hello? 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 We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you Rossifari Zoo news. News you can use from the world of zoos and conservation. Every week, we bring you breaking news and analysis from around the globe, featuring the animals you love and the people who care for them. And here's your anchorman, John Rossi. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to Rossifari Zoo News, your look at everything going on in the world of zoos, aquariums, conservation, and general animal weirdness. Y'all, it has been a really good week, and I have a lot of cool things to say about the things going on in zoos and aquariums, and even some stuff in my own life. But first, we have to talk about something pertaining to the podcast. I can barely even believe it, but we have officially hit over 1 million downloads of the Rossifari podcast. And, you know, we're turning 5 next year. So, like, it's been a long climb to get there, and it's taken a long time. But we have officially had 1 million downloads. And I cannot even wrap my head around that. I know not every downloaded episode gets listened to or whatever, but 1 million is such a big number. And I saw somebody recently on social media post a thing saying, like, you know, if your post gets 100 likes or whatever and you feel bad about that, think about what a room filled with 100 people looks like. And I have some perspective because I play a lot of rooms, with anywhere from, you know, a couple hundred to a couple thousand people. I think we've played a couple 10,000 seat venues that were sold out before. I think that was probably the biggest that I've done, except for when I played in the Baltimore Ravens Marching Ravens, and then we were in a stadium filled with around 70,000 people. But they weren't, you know, there to see us, even though we were playing. But 1 million is just so much more bigger than that. And it's so amazing. And I'm so excited and I'm so blown away by it. And I'm sorry I'm rambling, but this is still news to me. And I don't know. This was my little goofy COVID project that I thought, man, if we can just make it 6 weeks, that would be cool. And here we are, and we have 1 million downloads. And, because of that, I'm now going to do a full-length parody of the Bare Naked Ladies' If I Had $1 Million. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. Don't worry. But yeah, so that is my big news this week in the podcastal world. And then outside of that, I did mention that I was transferring my team at the Aquarium of Niagara, going from the marine mammal and bird team to the fish and invertebrates team. And I did spend a couple days starting to learn that department this week. And I've got to tell you, it's been an absolute joy being in this new department. I've started off working with a dude named Dan, who I've known the whole time I've been at the aquarium, and he's a good guy. And he just seems really excited to be teaching me how to be an aquarist. And so, yeah, in the last couple of days, I have fed all kinds of different fish. I have fed an electric eel and a moray eel, and given enrichment to lampreys and to darters and sunfish, and learned all kinds of really cool, really intricate stuff. One of the most amazing things about like aquarium systems is that they are really specific, and you really have to learn each step in order properly, or else you can do things like flood tanks or blow motors of filters, or, take an entire batch of fresh water and accidentally dump salt water into it and ruin it. So, like, there's a whole lot of stuff when you do this thing where it's like, okay, step 1 is this, step 2 is this, all the way through to step 6. And any one of them done in the wrong order or not completely is problematic. And so it's really interesting learning all of that. It's very different than a lot of the training type stuff that I've learned before, which is very, it's science, but it's also emotion, and it's a little touchy-feely. But it's been really cool, and I've been very hands-on with all of the animals. I mean, let's be honest, they're in aquariums. You're not hands-on with them, but you're feeding them, and you're using feeding sticks or doing broadcast feeds and stuff like that, and it's just been fantastic. So really excited, and I'm actually going to be sharing more about Aquarium of Niagara in Zoo News, so look forward to that story. And then for all of you lovely people in the central Pennsylvania region, don't forget that I will be doing $1 Million Quartet at Mount Gretna. I'm heading down next week to start rehearsals. So that's coming up later this month. No, next month, because that'll be July by then. So you can check out the online for details on that. So before we get to the Zoo News stuff, that was all the personal stuff, but a quick reminder, if you are new here, this is Rossifari Zoo News. It is a crowdsourced Zoo News-based program, and you can tag me in the socials or email me, rossifaripod@gmail.com, if you see any Zoo News-worthy stories, and I'll say your name at the end of the episode. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Make sure you're following along on the socials at Rossifari, on TikTok at RossifariPod, and all that good stuff. And with all of that said, let's get to it.
Well, it's 1 for the pandas, 2 for the bears, 3 for the monkeys. Now you should care. Now won't you listen to Zoo News? Or you could do anything, but why not listen to Zoo News? Well, it's a Zoo.
All right, so no headline story this week, which, often is really good news. But so that brings us right to our births and our deaths for the week. But honestly, this first birth that I'm going to talk about is pretty much a headline story. It's just not quite as long as one, but it's such a cool story and something that I'm just so incredibly proud to be able to share with y'all. So that is that the 25th penguin chick has been born at Aquarium of Niagara. And that's cool in and of itself, but the story behind it is absolutely incredible. So I wanted to share it with y'all. So while the little one's parents were sitting on the egg, they somehow managed to crack the shell of the egg while incubating it, which often makes chicks struggle to hatch on their own. Now, the incredible team at the aquarium was able to step in and move the egg to a brooder, and one of the vets at the aquarium was actually able to assist with the hatching. Meanwhile, as this was happening, the aquarium also connected with a young man named Carson, who is battling Ewing's sarcoma, which is a rare and aggressive bone cancer. And it just so happens that Carson loves penguins. And I mean, let's be honest, we all love penguins, but Carson really loves penguins. So the aquarium, hearing about how strong and brave Carson has been, invited Carson to come and meet some of the penguins, which, by the way, the penguin meet and greets at Aquarium of Niagara are a lot of fun. But they also let Carson meet the penguin chicks there. Now, you may notice I said chicks, and I did mention in a previous episode that we had one of these, but the second chick had not been announced yet, which means that Carson was one of the very few people who knew that there were 2 chicks at the aquarium at that time. And if that all wasn't enough of a surprise for Carson, the aquarium decided to offer him the naming rights to the chick. And look, that's a really beautiful thing, and I really love it for what it is, but I also need to point out that it's also a big deal because donors spend lots of money to help name animals. So this was not only the aquarium choosing to invest in Carson emotionally, but putting that connection above financial considerations. And, to me, that just makes this whole story even more incredible, right? I mean, wow. Carson decided that the penguin and he both were going through a tough time, with the penguin having a hard time hatching and with everything Carson's going through with his cancer, and that they both needed to be very strong to get through it. So he flipped his name backwards. And the chick is officially named Nosrak, which is incredible. The aquarium actually posted a fantastic video about this that I highly recommend that you check out. I'm not saying that you're going to tear up, but I'm going to say that it seemed a little dusty in my house when I watched it. And then I watched it again to get more information for this, and it got dusty again. Not quite sure what was going on there. But yeah, highly recommend that you check that out. And I have to say that I am so proud of my Aquarium of Niagara family for this whole thing. And honestly, I'm so excited to finally be able to tell all of you about our second penguin chick this year. Both of the birds are so ridiculously cute. And I don't think it's going to be possible to go to the aquarium and see this penguin with its yellow band and not remember this story and not remember how beautiful and selfless of an act this was. And that's incredible. Yeah, very proud of the entire team there. And starting to get a little dusty in here again, I think. Buttonwood Park Zoo has announced the birth of a red panda cub, and that means that red panda birth announcement season is officially upon us. And in case you wonder why I phrase it that way, it's because zoos often don't announce the birth of pandas until it's been a couple of weeks because, you know, there's a high mortality rate for red panda cubs, less so in human care than in the wild, but it's still a big thing. And so zoos usually don't announce until they're in the slightly safer part because it's still scary. But yeah, so this is the first one. And my guess, and I truly don't know of any others right now, but my guess is that we're going to hear about some more over the next couple of weeks, and they will have all been born a few weeks ago. And yeah, it's a very exciting time. So this little one was born to Garnet and Justin. And actually, because of how the viewing window is set up at Buttonwood Park Zoo, it is unlikely, but it is possible to catch a glimpse of the little one with mom in the nest already. That is amazing. Seeing panda cubs is a whole other thing if you love pandas, or even if you don't. So if you get the chance, Buttonwood Park Zoo, highly recommend going and checking that out. An Asian wild horse was born recently at the Minnesota Zoo. Over 50 of the species have been born at this zoo already, so they really know what they're doing. But despite that fact, this one fell ill immediately and had to be removed from mom for some veterinary care. Now, they were able to fix the problems, and the little foal is doing well, but when it returned back home, the mom rejected it, which is something that's very common if you ever have to take a baby horse of any kind away from its mom. So the consulting vets on the case actually knew of a domesticated horse who had just lost a foal of her own. This mother is named Alice, and Alice met the new little foal, and they hit it off immediately. And Alice immediately started showing maternal instincts. So Alice has now moved to the zoo for a couple of months, and while she's there, she's going to be raising this new Asian wild horse and teaching it how to be a horse. And just another really cool story of zoos really figuring out the best ways to, to take care of the animals in their care. A small female African pancake tortoise has been born at the Denver Zoo. This is actually the first time that an African pancake tortoise has ever been born at the zoo. And the little one was born to Mom Waffles, and they're not quite sure who the dad is, but it could be either Short Stack, Denny, or Flapjack. So some great naming going on there, and awesome that they had a birth for the first time. 7 scaly-sided merganser ducks have hatched at Franklin Park Zoo in Boston. This is an at-risk species with a home range in Asia, China, Russia, a couple other places over there. And 7 is a lot of hatchlings. So they're currently growing behind the scenes, but having such a large number of babies is actually a really big boost for the SSP, since this isn't a super represented species in AZA collections. A crested screamer chick has been born at Sequoia Park Zoo. The bird is doing well so far, and the best part of this story, and really the whole reason it made Zoo News this week, is that the parents are Boris and Ivana Screamalot. Yep, a crested screamer named Ivana Screamalot. Congrats on the birth, y'all. Zoo Miami just celebrated the 135th birthday of Goliath, who is a Galapagos tortoise. And this year, he not only celebrated his birthday, but also Father's Day for the first time, as this is the first time that Goliath has officially become a father at 135 years old. I'm just saying, if any of y'all are sitting there right now and thinking, I'm too old to follow my dreams, this dude became a dad at 135. Anyway, the baby tortoise is also the first time that a Galapagos tortoise has hatched at Zoo Miami, so this is a double big news story. And while Goliath gets all the props for being such an old parent, the mother, Sweet Pea, they don't know her exact age, but she's somewhere between 85 and 100 years old herself. So, yeah, I got some older parents here. But really, the thing that stands out to me the most is that Goliath apparently robbed the cradle a bit. My goodness. She's like only 85 to 100 years old. It's like Goliath is like the Leonardo DiCaprio of Galapagos tortoises. And last but not least for our births this week, Southwick Zoo has announced the birth of 3 cheetah cubs. Unfortunately, the mother did have some complications with everything, and so because of that, the cubs are being hand-reared out of necessity. They're going to debut later this summer at the zoo, and you'll actually not only be able to see them then, but you'll be hearing plans for these cubs on an upcoming episode of the Rossifari podcast. I'm excited to share these all with you as well. And that does bring us to our deaths for the week. And yeah, this first story is it's one of those that is just so hard to share. Our good friends at Buttonwood Park Zoo have said goodbye to Marie, the red panda. If you've listened to any of my episodes at Buttonwood, then you know that I have built an incredible relationship with the team and with the pandas there. Heck, meeting those pandas is what led me to Drum with Emily, the elephant, and that's still the most insane experience of my life. Unfortunately, Marie started showing weakness in her left hind leg, and an MRI showed that there was spinal cord inflammation, likely due to an embolism. Medical treatment began, and the hind limb weakness actually seemed to improve for a while, giving everyone hope, but then she started to develop abnormal clinical signs towards the end of May. Her health decreased, and she passed away shortly thereafter. A necropsy determined that she passed from liver failure due to embolisms, which are blood clots traveling through the bloodstream. Marie was such an incredible panda and such a wonderful mother to Kodo, Pip, and Sprout. In my time with her, I found her to be an incredibly gentle panda with a great big heart and a sweet disposition. I want to send all the love to the team at Buttonwood Park Zoo, especially Steph, who you've all heard on here multiple times. She's the lead panda keeper at the zoo, and she is just so passionate and talented, and she loves her animals so much. I know how hard this loss is for her. I also want to take a moment to say thank you to Sarah Henry, who has been my contact at the zoo since day one, for emailing me before the news went public. It's honestly really hard to find out an animal I love and have spent time with passed away by randomly opening Instagram one day. So it really did help me process my own grief and think through it when I got that email. So thank you, Sarah. Yeah. I have so many amazing memories in that habitat, and just spending time with Marie and the family. She's a big loss. That zoo will continue to thrive and be awesome, but there's always going to be a little piece missing for those of us that knew and loved Marie. Again, sending my love to the entire team. And actually, another lovely panda that I got to spend some time with has also passed away this week. Our friends at the Chattanooga Zoo have said goodbye to Willa, who was just under 11 years old at the time of her passing. Willa experienced a severe GI blockage earlier this week, and while doing the necessary surgery to remove the block, the team realized she was also in kidney failure. While efforts were made to fix both of the issues, Willa didn't survive the anesthesia necessary for the surgery. Willa was a super chill panda and was known for being a calming presence when new pandas were introduced to the habitat. She also really loved cuddling stuffed animals, something that was beyond adorable to see, especially when her tongue would loll out of her mouth while she was sleeping, sometimes cuddled up with the stuffed animal. It's ridiculous how cute that was. And Willa was also the sister of Carson the red panda, for those of you who know the world's most famous red panda. And as a matter of fact, Willa and Carson were twins and were the reason that Carolyn, the amazing human behind the Carson the red panda Instagram page, fell in love with the species. So even beyond her impact at Chattanooga, Willa had such a huge impact on red pandas in general because she and her brother inspired a love of red pandas in one person who then blew that up into a social media presence reaching tens of thousands of individuals and who raises so much money for red panda conservation year after year, event after event. It's amazing to see. So that is Willa's legacy, not just reaching the people at Chattanooga, but also helping to save red pandas in the wild. And even though she doesn't know that, it's really amazing that we get to know that. Addie, the Adelaide Zoo's Australian sea lion, has passed away at the age of 28, which makes her one of the oldest in the world. The species generally lives to around 15 in the wild and to 20 in human care. Unfortunately, there were gastrointestinal issues and abdominal issues, and so the decision was made to humanely euthanize. She is greatly missed. And at the Hogle Zoo, they recently said goodbye to Juniper, a gray fox. Juniper had a tough situation because Juniper was born with congenital hydrocephalus, a buildup of fluid around the brain. And that actually caused her to lose most of her eyesight. So it was medically managed for a while, but as often happens when things started to go downhill, they went downhill quickly. And so the correct decision was made to euthanize. And last but not least, the Denver Zoo has said goodbye to Garnet, a 19-year-old red river hog that was suffering from progressive spinal disease, reduced mobility, hind limb weakness, heart murmur, and renal failure. All of those things combined to make the quality of life that Garnet was experiencing not great at the end, and so the decision was made to euthanize. But, Garnet did outlive the life expectancy of a red river hog by about 4 years. And, it sounds like that was an animal that was very loved and very well taken care of right until the end. So moving on from births and deaths, we get to the rest of our zoo news section. 4 male weedy sea dragons at the Columbus Zoo currently have eggs in them. And yes, I did say male because in sea dragons, much like in seahorses, the males actually are the ones that carry the eggs. The species almost never breeds in human care, though Columbus has had breeding success before. This is actually the first time that there have been 4 weedy sea dragons with babies at any facility at the same time. So this is a really big deal for Columbus, and hopefully the babies start popping out when they are due. The Smithsonian's National Zoo has been doing some incredible research recently. Well, okay, they're kind of always doing incredible research there, but a recently published paper shines some light on a question that has kept researchers curious for a long time. Nesting long-billed curlews tend to set up their nests near prairie dog towns, despite the fact that prairie dog towns are hotbeds of predator activity. And for a long time, there's been a debate about whether it's a coincidence that they set up their nests near there or if it's happening for reasons that scientists didn't understand. Well, now it seems that the researchers at the Smithsonian believe they know the answer, which is that the curlews use their incredible hearing to listen for prairie dog alarm calls and then use them as their own predator avoidance system. So even though they're around more predators, they're more aware of the predators and can easily get away from them, hide from them, take care of that situation. It's pretty brilliant. The curlews basically have figured out a way to build nests with an alarm system. I love that. A video from the Perth Zoo has gone viral, and it's both horrible and hilarious, if I'm being honest. The video shows an orangutan at the Perth Zoo launching a possum from its habitat, specifically from a tower in the enclosure. It is a long throw and a huge drop, but shockingly, the zoo announced that the possum survived and is doing fine. It's always entertaining and scary when native wildlife decides to visit the zoo, especially when you see them get into habitats. And I gotta say, getting in with orangutans that's a choice. I want to take a moment to say congrats to the team at the Fort Worth Zoo, and specifically our good friend Jesse Gorman, because Jesse recently appeared on The Kelly Clarkson Show to introduce a baby flamingo at the zoo to the world at large. Jessie did an incredible job on the show, which I'm sure is something she would attribute to her time being interviewed on the Rossifari. No, I kid. Jessie is an incredibly passionate and inspirational educator, and I'm just so glad she got a chance to shine in such a national spotlight. That's incredible. A zoo in the UK has officially entered the Guinness Book of World Records. The oldest living lemur in human care is a ring-tailed lemur at the Five Sisters Zoo in the UK. Her name is Stumpy, and she is an incredible 39 years old as a lemur. That's incredible. That's just amazing. And then last but not least in Zoo News this week, our friends at the Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo have announced the arrival of a pair of binturongs. And if that's not exciting enough, and it is, the pair is Vivi and Anton, who lived at the Mesker Park Zoo previous to this, where they produced multiple litters of bintlets. I actually had the incredible joy of seeing the pair and some of their bintlets when I was at Mesker Park Zoo the last time. I want to say that was 2 years ago. And I got to say, this is an incredible binturong family. I spent a lot of time with them, y'all. I cannot wait to see these goobers when I get back to the Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo. And I really, really, really hope that the two of them keep on popping out bintlets because, because of course I do. Anyway, that brings us to
Conservation, news time. Oh yeah.
All right, so from time to time we talk about wildlife overpasses and underpasses on here. And actually, as a side note really quick, I started to type underpasses and my computer suggested underpants. And I would just like to officially let Siri know that we have never, ever, ever talked about wildlife underpants on this podcast. Okay, that's actually probably not true because I do make a lot of dumb jokes on here, but still, wildlife underpants? Come on. Anyway, a 12-year study in Vermont has shown that after installing 2 concrete tunnels under a 1-mile stretch of road, amphibian mortality in the area dropped by 80.2%, which is a freaking incredible number. I love that so much. That is a huge conservation win. Now, on a less happy note, I recently mentioned that the sale of a huge swath of public lands has been removed from the Trump administration's, quote, big, beautiful bill. Ugh. Anyway, and I was really happy that House Republicans were the ones who stood up against it and got it removed. Well, it's been added back into the Senate's version of the bill, where the Republican lawmakers there seem quite pleased with the idea. My guess is that if it makes it to reconciliation, and it will, the sale of the lands will stay in the final bill. So we had a win for 2 weeks. But maybe some Republican lawmakers will stand against this sale because conservation is good and selling land to the highest bidder to use to destroy it is less good? Bad even? I don't know. Anyway, okay, enough. Back to the happy. The long-beaked echidna has been rediscovered because what would conservation news be without a rediscovery? The species hasn't been recorded in over 60 years. And interestingly, the scientists that first found this and then confirmed it used a mixture of modern technology, drones and camera traps and all that stuff, and indigenous knowledge in order to find and officially confirm the rediscovery of this species. So very exciting stuff. Oh, hey, did you know that giant pandas can actually collect solar energy? Okay, well, one can. In Datong, China, there is a 250-acre solar farm that was created in the shape of a giant panda. This was developed by Panda Green Energy, and it's really adorable and is bringing awareness both to the species and to how solar energy can help to save our planet. And then last but not least, in conservation news this week, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has announced plans to declare 7 species of pangolins endangered. And this would basically lead to, more protections and stiffer penalties for traffickers and other people causing issues for pangolins. The government actually believes that unlike a lot of the illegal animal wildlife trade, I said that poorly. Let's try that again. The illegal wildlife trade, which is its own thing and which is very organized, and there are a lot of problems, that when it comes to pangolins in particular, like crime families, like organized crime, like mafia type stuff are the ones involved. So it's a little different than just like poaching networks, which can also be very developed, as we talked about with the IRF recently, talking about rhino poaching and stuff. But apparently pangolins are the most trafficked animal in the world, in part because crime families are trafficking them. And I don't know, man, I can't picture The Godfather 4 dealing with pangolins, but I'm really excited that the U.S. is taking this step to hopefully help slow that trafficking down. And that brings us to in other news. All right, just one story here this week. A zebra has been recaptured after a week-long escape in Tennessee. The zebra, which has the wonderfully appropriate African name of Ed, has made national news, not just because of the escape and because there were all these Ring doorbell videos of a zebra walking by the house at ungodly hours, but also because the video footage of the capture and return features Ed being airlifted by helicopter, hanging down below it in a harness, and he just looks totally calm and content. He's just chilling, hanging from, the bottom of a helicopter in the sky. It just looks like he's looking. You have to expect him to bust out a cigarette or be like, "Oh, hey, this again," and obviously, anthropomorphizing to a ridiculous level. But that's just what it looks like, and literally, this has gone super viral, and mainstream media have picked it up. John Oliver even mentioned it on his episode this week. And yeah, in case you're wondering, it is legal to own zebras privately as pets in Tennessee. Legal, not great, not brilliant, not smart, not a good idea, but legal.
Oh, animal holidays. Animal holidays. Hey!
All right, and that brings us to our animal holidays for the week. June is Zoo and Aquarium Month, World Oceans Month, and Orca Month. And for our individual days, we have the 20th, which is American Eagle Day and Take Your Dog to Work Day. Don't get confused and take your eagle to work because they are legal to own and also will totally F up your office. So much poop. The 21st is World Giraffe Day. The 22nd is World Camel Day and World Rainforest Day, which is actually kind of ironic if you think about it. The 23rd is Pink Flamingo Day and also launches Insect Week. And the 25th is National Catfish Day. And yes, we're talking about the animals, not the gross people online who do gross things and pretend they're other people and stuff. And those are your animal holidays for the week. All right, so there you have it, folks. Another episode of Rossifari Zoo News. And I want to take a moment here to remind you all that you can support the podcast for as little as $3 a month by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. And I'd especially like to thank my current patrons and my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, Melissa Reed, Carrie Kirkpatrick, John Lewis, also here for stickers, and Kevin Williams. And I'd also like to thank everyone who contributed stories this week. And I do want to say something got screwed up with my notes where I keep all this. I'm not sure what happened. So if I miss anyone, I'm sorry, and let me know, and I'll make sure I throw your name in there next week. But I do want to say thank you to Anya Keene, Colleen Linehan, Kim Cooley-Croninger, Carrie Kirkpatrick, Kevin Williams, Emily Rockbuck, Anna McEachran, Maddie Pat, Marianne Rossi, that's my mom, Ken Tryon, Dr. Laura Schenk, Amanda Morrill, Ali Malensky, Kay Malensky,
The Malenskys.
By the way, the Malenskys are back from Africa and appear to have had a great time. Very, very proud of them for going and doing the thing, and can't wait to hear more about it. Anyway, back to names. Rowena White, Jay Dunkley, Dr. Natalie Taco, Dr. Zoe Rossi, Jay Meredith, Sarah Henry, Ann Yoshioka, and Barbara Bennett. Thank you all so much for contributing this week. We'll be back on Tuesday with a brand new interview episode, and then again on Friday for Rossifari Zoo News. So until then, remember, friends, the words Newsy credits backwards are Steiderk Yiswen. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo. Guys, the night that I recorded this, I finished at like 3 a.m. So if there were any mistakes, I'm guessing they're just still in there.